What is up? And welcome to the All Basketball Podcast. I'm your host once again, Maurice Dixon, coming to you on June 9th, a few hours before the Suns and Nuggets tip off before their second game of that 7-game series in the Western Conference semifinals. And yes, folks, we are fully all the way in the second round now. Um, Many teams have been eliminated. Many teams have moved on. Like I said, the Nuggets who beat the Blazers, and then also the Suns who eliminated the Lakers. Both of those series going 6 games. Now the Nuggets and Suns get ready to battle in game 2, see if Phoenix can continue to protect home court, go up 2-0, handle business at home, take care of what they're expected to take care of, which is home court advantage. But see if the Nuggets can steal one with the currently announced MVP Nikola Jokic. If they're able to get a lead and keep it this time, but Suns play well, play good defense. Aiton's been playing well. Devin Booker's been consistent. Just pretty much torched the Lakers to send LeBron and injure Anthony Davis home for the rest of the season. So, and Chris Paul leading as he does. So we'll see how that pans out, how game 2 goes. But really want to focus on Thursday's games between the Bucks and the Nets. That'll be game 3. And then also game 2 between the Jazz and the Clippers in Salt Lake City. So first thing, the Nets are up 2-0. Just from watching, didn't get to see much of game 1, but saw enough of game 2 that this is looking more and more like a bad matchup for Milwaukee. Their shortcomings are showing more than ever. You're seeing more that Giannis still has issues when it comes to being effective in the half court. No post up, still facing up or looking to drive downhill, and Blake Griffin, whoever's guarding, they're just backing up. Then it doesn't help when Middleton's not shooting well, Drew Holiday's not shooting well. Specifically, Middleton is shooting under 30% for this series. I know it's like 23% from 3. Some good looks, maybe some not good looks. They definitely were guilty of just jacking up a bunch of shots at certain points in the game, just trying to get back in it quickly. And it just helped build more and more momentum for the Nets in game 2 and just turned into a recipe for disaster. And you can't have that when you're going up against a potent offense like Brooklyn has, even though they don't have James Harden at the moment. But Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant have just really been on one, just getting whatever they want. They just almost seem too fast for the Milwaukee players, even more athletic. Durant's playing out of this world. Shooting at a great percentage once again from every level as far as going to the basket, mid-range, three-point range, just getting whatever he wants. One of the best moves of the playoffs when he put the double cross on Giannis. May have been a carry, but hit that jumper and for a three-point play. It's just been, Kyrie Irving stopping on a dime. They just look too quick, too fast just for what Milwaukee has out there. I know DiVincenzo's missing. That's key because you have to they inserted Tucker in the starting lineup, but he's just picking up fouls against Durant. And that seems not to be a solution either. But as far as Middleton, all-star player, very good player. Been to a few all-star games. Definitely not a superstar, but a good second or third option. But he's going to have to do more in game 3. He's averaging 15 points at the moment, but field goal percentage 30%, three-point shooting percentage 23%. It's just bad. Drew Holiday's been pretty good, shooting 45%, but it's like the same issues are occurring with with Milwaukee as far as Giannis not having a dependable mid-range shot. Sometimes he just comes and settles for that pull-up three, which isn't good. Then he's not making free throws. So it's just negatives all across the board. Yeah, he might still get his numbers, but I mean, they just too much standing around. I mean, you gotta figure out how to punish these guys in some way. I mean, I know in game one they had an advantage going inside. Three ball wasn't falling, and obviously three ball helps you keep up when the Nets are shooting the three at a high clip, making it at a high clip. So you have to have some type of three-point shooting, good three-point shooting to keep up mathematically. It's just impossible to trade twos for threes. But you have to, I mean, you got to get down there and pound them. I mean, maybe put Giannis, make sure he's more in the post. I mean, just go for what you know and then play inside out. I mean, Shaq suggested that on a previous episode of Inside the NBA I was watching. Play that to your advantage. Try to get some of those guys in foul trouble, like Griffin and Claxton. I mean, maybe make them have to bring in DeAndre Jordan because Jeff Green's not available. But and just get more balance and yeah, just have to put Giannis in the post because if they're just backing up and he's not making that mid range, your options are far and few, pretty much few. I mean, you only have so many options and it's just not working. I mean, if he doesn't have a go-to move besides the Euro step and dunk or traveling, rumbling downhill, so to speak, and they're just cutting that off, it's just not working. I mean, they're playing and the other guys not shooting well from three. They're just allowing Brooklyn to play a protect the paint type of defense. I mean, we go under everything. We're in a soft zone, and we're going to give you the space to, yeah, we'll accept the jump shot. And if you can make it enough to beat us, then maybe we'll change up. But they haven't been able to change up, make them adjust too much, and especially with the way Irving and Durant are playing and the other guys. And the crazy thing is James Harden isn't even there. So you definitely would have expected Milwaukee to get beat as bad as they got beat the other night and be down 49 points at one point. That's just because expecting not to see a final score of 125-86. But when you look at it, it's just two games. The Nets protect their home court. They did what they're supposed to do. If Milwaukee wants to win this series, obviously they have very little room for error now. I mean, you have to win the 4 of the next 5. And the thing you can't do is lose game 3. Because you go down 3-0, it's essentially over. Unless you're going to become the first team to come back from a 3-0 deficit in the NBA finals and in the NBA playoffs. It hasn't happened yet. It's just too tough of a task. So yeah, they got beat convincingly in the first 2 games, especially game 2. But game 3, role players should play better. Maybe some things are going in your favor. I mean, Brooklyn will probably be a little lax because they have a little room, a little more cushion, so to speak. They know they're up 2 games. Psychologically, they're in less of a hungry position, I would say. So, but if you're Milwaukee, you just have to win this next game. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. People like to say the playoffs don't start. The series doesn't start until the home team loses. But if Milwaukee loses, the series will be over. So it already been started, and then it'll be over. But they protect home court, win game 3 tomorrow night. It can change the whole layout of the series and put them back in a position to get that game, then protect their home court again, and then we're tied 2-2. And it's just best 2 out of 3 from there on. But we'll see how that series shakes out. I expect it to be a lot closer than what it's been these first two, but it definitely could turn around. And that game two was just one game. It's behind Milwaukee. It's behind Brooklyn. Now it's on to game three. And also Thursday night, you got the Clippers playing once again in Utah. Last good game, good competitive game in game one between those two teams. 112, 109 score, I want to say. And you had come down to the wire, yeah. And Clippers looked like it was about over about a minute or so, but they made a charge. Paul George made a big shot. They got some other shots to go in. Next thing you know, they're down three with like 15 seconds left. And the last play would have worked, but they were doing some dribble handoffs. And once Kawhi got it, when he got the ball, after he got the ball, he had bumped into his defender. And so I think that kind of threw everything off because I'm pretty sure he wanted to go for that game time shot. But then Maurice did have a lot of room in the corner, and he's usually pretty dependable from those corners. Nobody really shot well, but Gobert just made a great closeout, and then pretty much blocked the shot, didn't foul. Ball game. So it was also a great defensive sequence by the Jazz to stand firm, not foul, and go and escape with that win and hold on to home court advantage because they haven't played in a few days, and it showed. I mean, when you miss 20 straight shots, at least 20 straight shots in the first quarter, maybe part of the second quarter as well. I mean, it just shows that you're out of rhythm. But their defense helped them contain to keep the score manageable, even though they went to halftime down double digits. Helped keep them within striking distance to allow, Donovan Mitchell second half. I mean, they came out guns blazing. I mean, next thing you know, that deficit was wiped out, and it was a close game from there on out. Mitchell ended up matching his number, 45 points. Didn't shoot well from three, 6 of 15, but hit the 45-point mark, and it didn't go for naught because they got the win. So, but the thing with the funny thing about Utah, it seems like they have shot the most threes in the league this season. I mean, they hit 17 of 50. Clippers went 16 of 42. So maybe if the Clippers even hit half of those shots, or a few more, get close to around the 50% mark, maybe this isn't even a contest, but they can never really pull it away. But even with the way the three shot in today's game, it's really tough to maintain a 20-point lead anyway. I mean, those leads they evaporate like that with the way the pace and the way guys are able to knock down threes. And if you can't exchange twos for threes, threes are going to either help you increase your lead or it's going to decrease your deficit quickly. And but Utah was missing Mike Conley, so that was key. So I think at the moment he's going to give that hamstring a try and try to play a run and try to play this in this next game, because I think they need him to maybe give their offense a little more balance, and it won't be they're just where it looks like they're just out there chucking up threes at certain points. But Mitchell can drive, and he will start driving and get to the basket. I mean, he can hit mid-range shots, but I think Conley more so helps with the pick and roll and helping getting Gobert involved, because you have to prepare, try to prevent the lob, and then once you do that, sometimes the corners are open for threes. So, and it just puts everybody in their proper place as far as the starting lineup. Then you move Ingles back to the bench, you have Ingles and Clarkson come in when they're used to coming in and everything is back in order. But on the Clippers side, they didn't shoot well. May have been a little fatigued from just coming off that emotional Game 7 win over Dallas on Sunday. Finally won a home game in that series. Leonard shot okay, 9 of 19, 23 points. Kind of had some foul issues there, but nobody else. Zubac played well, just rebounding, blocking shots, and just playing good defense, catching lobs, all of that. I mean, hitting off his free throws because he was pretty much he pretty much had to be benched in the previous series because they were just seeking him out on screen and rolls. And if you're going to switch the screen, if you put Zubac on Luka, Luka's going to win that matchup. But Paul George didn't shoot well. Didn't really shoot too great in the last series either. I mean, they were chanting overrated. They definitely can't argue against that. And I kind of think it's just time maybe with Paul George, we just stop expecting so much. I mean, he's a very talented player. It seems like he just hasn't been the same since the leg injury and those Indiana days when him and the Pacers pushed the Heat to, I know, at least one 7-game series, but this guy's just still not able to show up. He's very good in the regular season, will hit certain numbers, but as shown in the postseason, those numbers go down. I mean, that last series, he shot 46% from the field and just 31% from three. Now, he's solid at the free throw line, but two issues with his game I seem to notice. Well, one definite issue, when he goes to the hole, he doesn't finish well. I mean, he's not really taking off the dunk on guys anymore. I don't know if it's within his capability anymore to be that type of player. Early on, you saw a lot of clips when he was dunking. He was obviously more athletic then. I mean, he didn't have the leg injury, and he had to depend more on that because he wasn't the jump shooter that he's become now. But his jump shot is just not consistent, especially when it counts. I mean, got a smooth game, got the handle, but I guess just expect it's time to start expecting less from Paul George, or expecting not that much. If he does something great, be like, okay, wow, that was just the outlier, that was the exception. But the rule with him is he's probably just going to be okay. Now in that last series, even though he didn't shoot well in that last game, I mean, he gave him like 10 assists, 9 rebounds, played good defense. But let's just not crown or identify this guy as a superstar anymore. Just very good player, all-star, but more so built for the regular season. And you hope for the best in the postseason because it's just not it's just not in him. It's just not who he is. I mean, he messed up with the whole playoff P nickname he tried to give himself. Then people started calling him Pandemic P last year because of the bubble and everyone dealing with the coronavirus. And it's just, he just needs to not talk, obviously, and just be a solid complimentary player to Kawhi Leonard, and just maybe the Clippers just have Kawhi Leonard and the rest of the guys just chipping in collectively to see if they can honestly make their first conference finals. I mean, because Utah is just as hungry, if not hungrier. And I mean, Donovan Mitchell is out to prove that he is a superstar. He's showing it. He's been showing it ever since he started playing the playoffs, because since he's been on the court, the Jazz haven't lost. But I think it's going to be should be a long series. Don't know which way I want to go right now, because the way the Jazz shoot the three, and if the three's not going, it's not good for them. And the Clippers are one of the best three-point shooting teams as far as percentage during the regular season, and they play good enough defense, but you just don't know sometimes if Kawhi is going to step up to the challenge. And then you pretty much, it's fair to assume that Paul George isn't going to be stepping up to the challenge like that. But should be a very entertaining series, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays out. And also the Sixers and the Hawks are 1-1. Haven't seen much of that one, unfortunately, but Atlanta kind of surprised me coming out, winning that first game, even though Embiid put up 39 and wasn't as injured as you thought he was going to be, but Hawks came in focused and they took that game one. Had a chance to take game two last night, but Embiid dropped 40 and then it's close in the third quarter until Shake Milton came in. It was, he just came in on fire, stayed ready, like Embiid said. And the Sixers went ahead and evened that up. So we'll see how that series goes when it continues for the next two games here in the Atlanta area, and see what Ben Simmons has to offer. Just 4 points that last game. He's not really a scorer, but you got to give me a good amount of assists, and you should be able to get at least 10 to 15 points. I mean, dude's really athletic. I mean, give me something in transition, dunk on somebody. Just need to see. I mean, Philly's going to need, just from the objective view, Philly's going to need a little more because Atlanta's really balanced. I mean, Trae Young was off the last game. He's probably not going to continue to be off like that. Now, Herter had probably had the game of his life, but that may not happen again either. But Bogdanovich shooting it well. Gallinari's been consistent. John Collins. And then Capella down low. They have a good amount of depth. And I don't think Hunter played the last game. I don't know what his status is. I guess if he's out there for game three, that'll make a huge difference as well. It's two. But Atlanta has their bench. Their bench proved to be much better than Philly's bench until Shake Milton came in. So their talent is spread out more across the roster, but obviously has a few better offensive players in him, starting with Embiid. He's the best player out there. Then Trae Young. Then you probably say, definitely say Tobias Harris next. And then maybe you probably go Bogdanovich, but then somewhere down there, when it comes to maybe best overall players, you'll put Ben Simmons higher, but offensively, he's not there, but he could limit your best offensive player. He could limit Trae Young, or he could limit Bogdanovich, depending on how Doc Rivers and that staff decides to go about their defensive matchups. But I mean, Embiid's going to win it's all about winning your matchup. Embiid's going to win that matchup. Trae Young most likely going to win that matchup unless Ben Simmons or Thibault is giving them a lot of trouble because of their length. And then more so often, Harris is going to win his matchup. So Philly Seth Curry is going to give you good shooting, Danny Green, but then Bogdanovich, Herter, they all can balance that out because they shoot the ball just as well too. But Philly, the number one seed, they have their hands full. I mean, Atlanta's hungry, and I mean, they got Trae Young got that dog. I mean, he wants the respect. He wants to, first time in the playoffs, go as far as he can and prove to everyone that he's just as good as Luka Doncic or other people drafted before him or drafted in his class, or many of his other young counterparts who were starting to make their name in the league. He wants to be recognized and right there with them, and he's showing that I deserve to be, even though I wasn't voted to the All-Star team this year, and he probably won't make the All-NBA team, but he's proven that, hey, I am one of the guys in this league. I am a superstar. So that series has should have some much more good, should be much more entertaining and have a lot more good basketball, competitive basketball, hopefully between those two teams, because it's kind of been lopsided. We need kind of a close game. Just one team going to run, the other team going to run, and then you don't know who really has the upper hand. You just, well, when it gets tight, who's more built for it. That's what we're waiting to see. So those are all the series. Just want to look at the teams that got knocked out, particularly Dallas and Portland. And I guess I'll start with the Blazers. Fired the coach Terry Stotts. He had been there for a while. They usually get in the playoffs, but don't go too far. A couple of years ago, the seeding kind of worked in their favor, and they ended up in the conference finals. But then Golden State swept them. And it's just, I guess they had to do something different, because you can't keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, because we all know that's insanity. So usually starts with the coach. I don't think the GM or anything has been touched, but then it's roster construction. It's always been rumored for years that CJ McCollum has been on the trading block, but do they go ahead and make the move this time? I mean, is that the issue? If you want to keep Dame Lillard happy, stop. I guess just prevent more. Stop preventing. Don't waste his prime. I want to say, stop letting his prime years just go by with these first round exits because they're barely getting to the playoffs, or they don't have a high enough seed, or their team isn't complete enough, or the defense isn't good enough. I mean, just looking at just as far as defensive rating, they're 29th in the league on one source I just cited. I mean, that is teamrankings.com. There has them 29th this season. They were only better than Sacramento. Sacramento didn't make the playoffs. And a lot of other teams that didn't even make the playoffs are better than them, like New Orleans, Oklahoma City, which was tanking at an all-time rate after a while, Cleveland, Orlando. I mean, the culture definitely has to change there. Maybe you get the right coach in there, and maybe they'll change that, change up some of the personnel. They brought in Robert Covington, who's a pretty well-known 3-and-D guy, but maybe he can only help so much. I mean, it's only one position. I mean, when it comes to defense is it consists of allowing the fewest amount of open shots, protecting the paint, defensive rebounding, and then just recovering on breakdowns. All that goes into it. And obviously, Portland hasn't done that well in a while. I mean, Dame isn't known for his defense. McCollum isn't known for his defense. Carmelo Anthony isn't known for his defense. Nurkic, he fouls a lot. Cantor definitely isn't known for his defense. And Billy Donovan made that clear to the world when he said can't play Cantor some time ago in Oklahoma City. Zach Collins is always hurt. And then, I don't know as far as Simons, but Norman Powell was brought in, but I really know as a defensive player. I mean, you can score, maybe give the effort, but something is going to have to change as far as their culture. They're going to expect something different and make the most of Dame's prime and wanting to stay there, because it seems like he wants to stay there and get Portland their first championship since the 70s and just be loyal to the franchise that chose him when nobody else, he wasn't really probably on too many guys' radar because he went to Weber State and he's probably just definitely been overlooked his entire basketball career. But I mean, he's going to have to step up with maybe more of a definite defensive mentality because it starts with your best player. And I don't know what kind of moves they make, but something has to change because he can't keep having these great performances and you're scoring all these points, but and you maybe you have those few moments when it's Dame time and you make a big clutch shot, but your defense continues to be bad. I mean, it's just not a winning formula. That's pretty much proven across for most of NBA history. If you don't play good enough defense or don't have enough consistent weapons on offense, most of the time you're not going to win. You have to be somewhere middle of the pack or up at the top of the rankings to be a serious contender. And you can't be bottom 25 down or definitely not second to last. So, I mean, I don't know what's going to take. The first thing I think is just going to, once they figure out who their coach is and then see what kind of moves they have to make. They don't really have the free agency pool like other markets. You have a few assets. I don't know, as far as you're probably not going to have a great draft pick, or they could just maybe just blow it up, so to speak, or haul off a bunch of guys for maybe another very dependable guy and just build that way. And who knows, but they're going to definitely got a challenge. They're going to change the culture and the way their view, change just change that from being so offensively potent to an extent of to being so inefficient defensively. I mean, I don't know if they get another playmaker in there or because it just most time it just seems like high screen and roll, Dame's either pulling up, maybe going to the basket or finding the shooters, and maybe they need to switch up their offensive game plan. But it's going to be interesting to see how things shake out in Portland, if they can prove me wrong as far as I know they're not going to be too great. I know they're not going to be too bad. They're just going to be somewhere in the middle. See if they can change my mindset, change my opinion in next season. And then also the Mavs got eliminated, couldn't win a home game. I mean, Luka Doncic did his thing. I mean, gave the Clippers all types of problems until Tyronn Lue decided to make sure Kawhi Leonard was on him and wasn't always switching off of him on screens, even though Doncic still got 46 in that final game. They just the Mavericks didn't have enough. Everybody pretty much regressed back to their averages, to the mean. I mean, Tim Hardaway cooled off. Finney Smith cooled off to an extent. And then I guess one thing they needed to flip was for Porzingis to step up, but he ended up averaging like 15 for the series. And that's just not good enough. I mean, he grabbed 11 rebounds, but game 7, you got to step up. But it's tough being in that position that he's in because they just pretty much turned him into a spot-up shooter with Luka doing all the creating. And he just standing in the corner, standing somewhere behind the three-point line and shooting threes, even against a small Clipper lineup. I mean, I know they had the big guy Marjanovic in at a certain point, so he wanted to give him space, and then so you still have a tall threat in the middle, but either Porzingis, I know they said he wasn't happy about his role. Either he's going to have to get more of a post game or something to go to, or fall in line, or try to step up even more, or become more aggressive, become more active. But I guess it's tough in the offense when you have it's just a high screen and roll to get the mismatch and everybody else spot up or maybe cut to the basket. But if Luka's going to dominate the ball because his efficiency rating and his just how much he has the ball is just the numbers are through the roof. I mean, he just every play, but that didn't seem to be a good recipe either in the end because he wore down. I mean, he wasn't good in the fourth quarters. He struggled to score. Then he's struggling to free throws. So maybe that's when you kind of try to switch it up because he's getting tired. They say he's not in the best shape. Maybe need to get his conditioning, become a better conditioned player. I mean, chisel his frame up. You know, maybe you go to Porzingis, but he doesn't really have post game. Doesn't have a great history as far as injury because he's been constantly hurt, knee problems and stuff, and he's just going to become more and more limited. And I don't even know. I'm sure they can trade him, but I don't know what they can get back. And you're talking about Dallas trying to advance and become better and make the most of Luka's historic performances because he gave the Clippers everything he had and everything they didn't want. They just really couldn't stop him. But when it came down to those final moments, I mean, either he was out of gas or he just couldn't make the shot when he had to, or he just running on fumes. And if Porzingis isn't going to step up or Coach Carlisle can't find a way to get him more touches or more involved, then maybe you have to move him. Pretty sure there's some suitors, but I just don't know if you're going to get back as good of a player or a couple of good players because a lot of teams are going to be thinking about the injury history and be like, well, we don't know. We don't know. Dude, this unfortunately he's fragile, very talented. I mean, 7-3, shoot the three from deep, hit jump shots, but his resume is littered with a bunch of missing games due to injury. So we'll see what Dallas figures out. And I guess the Lakers will be in a similar situation because got certain guys up for contract. You got to figure out how to keep Anthony Davis healthy. LeBron's going to try to do as much as he can do, but he's going to be 37 to start of next season. Just the miles, and he's just getting up there in age. I mean, but it's LA. I got a feeling something could just somewhat come out of nowhere, and I guess they kind of may have a three-headed monster. But I don't know how much they have to negotiate because you got a lot of guys who look limited or a lot don't have too much value to other teams. So I don't know what they try to change. I mean, the main thing is just trying to see if they can keep Anthony Davis healthy. And as long as he's been in the league, he's always been out for something. And it either is going to get worse or it's going to get better. And it's going to stay consistent. And I see it staying probably right where it's been because that's all he's shown for most part. But playoffs are continuing. Looking forward to it. Like I said, be tuning in to game 2 between Phoenix and Denver tonight. Hopefully you guys got a little something you didn't know. Hope you continuing to tune in and enjoy the NBA playoffs. This has been another volume of Just My Thoughts of the All Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, Maurice Dixon. Remember to subscribe and share. Check me out on all your whatever feed you get your podcasts on, and also on YouTube. at All Basketball Podcast. And until next time, peace and be blessed in Jesus' name.